What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. As you can see, my Talaria is still pretty crusty from the pit bike race last weekend. So in today's video, we're gonna go ahead and give it a bath. I see this question a lot, people asking how to wash these things and what to do, so I'm going to go ahead and go over my process and just kind of give you my 2 cents, and hopefully this helps you guys out. The first thing I'm going to go ahead and do is shut the breaker off and remove the battery, so I'm going to go ahead and do that and I'll be right back. Alright, now that I've got the breaker off and the battery out, I'm going to go ahead and get this thing up on a stand. You don't really have to use a stand to wash it, it just kind of helps because you're able to spin the wheels around freely. You can use a bucket or anything to just kind of get it off the ground, but I got tired of using a bucket, so I went ahead and got this Polysport stand off of Amazon. It's folding, so it just kind of pops out like that. It's got a little spot for like number plate graphics and stuff like that, and then to fold it back up, you just pick it up here, and pretty sweet, I think. Another little tip I've come to find out, when you go to lift these bikes up to get them on a stand, you don't want to lift them up from here. It's much easier to go ahead and just grab the rear rim. It just gives you a lot more leverage and it's easier to pick the bike up. Boom. So the first thing I'm going to do to start cleaning this is, before I use any water, I'm going to go ahead and go through with an air chuck and just kind of blow off any of the loose dirt that I can, just to kind of make the cleaning process easier. I don't think I'm going to use a pressure washer on this, so the more dirt I can get off with the air, the easier it's going to be when I go to use the hose and the scrub brush. So I'm going to get to blowing off some of the dirt with this air, and I'll be right back. Alright, as you can see, the compressed air did a pretty good job of getting the bulk of the dirt off of here. All the big clumps and stuff kind of flew right off, which is really going to help and speed things up when you go to get the water on it. So the reason I went ahead and used air first, and why I'm not going to use air again after we get the bike wet, is I don't want the air to push water into any places where it's not supposed to be, any electronics, any connections or anything like that. I don't want to force and push water into those areas, so just try to get the most of the dirt off first. That way the water, we don't really have to use a whole bunch of it. I said I'm not going to use a pressure washer, which I probably won't this time just because it's my first time washing this thing, but maybe in the future I will. Alright, I'm getting ready to get the hose and we'll start spraying this thing down. There are a few places that I'm going to try to avoid. The first one is going to be the gearbox seal right here where the shaft comes out. There's a bearing there as well as a seal, so I'm not going to try to force water into that area. I'm also going to stay away from the motor, the controller, direct spraying that, as well as the electronics in there, and like the horn area up here in the front. And then the other area I'm not going to try to spray too hard is like the controls, the switches, the throttle, all the electronics on the bar. Is going to just try to steer clear from all the electronics and just focus on the bulk of the bike. Alright, I'm going to grab the hose and be right back. Alright, one more thing before I start spraying it down with the hose. I'm just going to take this shopping bag and kind of cover up the battery connector and anything else I can in here just to try to keep it from getting wet. And then one more thing that I forgot to mention that I'm going to avoid is the, this camera's probably not going to focus, but the gearbox breather hose is right here where my finger is. I'm going to try to avoid getting water in that, and I don't like how mine is kinked up here like this. I've actually got a mod that's coming in the mail on Saturday that's going to be a pretty sweet upgrade for the breather hose as well as the gearbox. So stay tuned for that. I'll try to release it as soon as it gets in. Very cheap, very simple, and I think it's going to be a great upgrade for all these bikes, so stay tuned for that one. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and spray the whole bike down, get everything wet. And then the next step is I'm going to spray it down. Any other time I would just use Simple Green. I've used that on motocross bikes my entire life. But I actually happen to have some of this Charged PEV from Surron from a giveaway that I entered from him. So I'm going to go ahead and give that stuff a shot. I haven't gotten to try it yet, and it's supposed to be specific for these bikes. So I'm going to get this thing wet. I'm going to spray it down with the Charged PEV or Simple Green or whatever all-purpose cleaner you decide to go for. It's pretty much all the same stuff. And then a microfiber towel and a scrub brush is what I'm going to use to try to get the rest of the dirt off. So I'll be back. Alright, I just got the whole bike sprayed down with water. Go ahead and take my all-purpose cleaner and just start spraying it down all over. And then I'm going to go to work with my microfiber and my scrub brush, check back in, we'll go ahead and rinse it off and see how it does. Alright, got everything scrubbed and wiped down. Gonna go ahead and give it a final rinse. Check back in when I'm done with that. Alright, we just got her all rinsed off. She's looking pretty clean. I'm gonna go ahead and dry it off. Just gonna use some of these clean microfiber towels. Just gonna give it a wipe down. Typically I would use the air compressor again or like a leaf blower, but I'm not going to do that this time just because I don't want to force water into any of the internal electronics or connections. So I'm just going to dry it with a microfiber and I'll check back in. Alright guys, just got it dried off. She's looking good. She's looking clean. There's just a few more things that I like to do after I wash a bike. One being lubing the chain. Go ahead and lube the chain while you got it on the stand or whatever. I'm also going to go ahead and lube the peg springs as well as the kickstand spring. Just kind of like to cover all my bases and try to do a little bit of rust prevention after you get a bike wet. But yeah, that's pretty much it. There's only one more step. The first wash is almost complete. There's just one final step that I do every time I wash a bike. Maxima SC1, new bike in a can, baby. Spray this stuff on all over. Don't get it on your controls, don't get it on your seat, and don't get it on your brake rotors because this stuff is pretty slick. But everywhere else is fair game on the bike. It's basically new bike in a can. Looks great, smells amazing, makes your bike look brand new again. It protects it, and it also kind of makes dirt and mud less likely to stick to it underneath the fenders in certain places. So if you haven't given this stuff a shot yet, highly recommend. Alright guys, there it is. That's the final product. Got it all dried off and SC1 down. I think it turned out pretty good. So that's pretty much going to be it for this one. If this helps you figure out how you want to wash your Talaria, Surron, or E-Moto at all, I'd greatly appreciate it if you go ahead and drop the video a like. As well as if you're not subscribed yet, make sure you do. I've got a breather tube mod coming soon. The part should be here Saturday, and I think it's a part that every MX4 and MX3 should have. It's super cheap and anybody can buy them, and I think it will greatly help the longevity of the gearbox as well as preventing water from getting inside. So subscribe if you want to see that video. It should be out soon. As always guys, thanks for watching. Hope everyone has a great rest of their day. Peace.